You're listening to Shoe In, covering the ins and outs of all things footwear, from sneakers to heels, loafers to slippers, and every type of shoe in between. Brought to you by the FDRA, the Footwear Industries Association focused on retail, trade, politics, and fashion, helping create and enhance conversations on all things footwear. And now your footwear insiders, Matt Priest and Andy Holt.
Matt, what's going on?
Andy, what's up, brother?
Nothing, man. Got that sneaker sweats.
Oh, yeah?
Gotta have them.
What does that mean?
I don't know.
You don't know? It's so hot.
It's so hot. Fried. Sneaker sweats, baby.
Sneaker sweats?
Yeah, exactly.
Are you a guy that you're always sweating your sneakers, even if in the winter?
Yeah, mostly. I mean, I'm a pretty hot-natured kind of guy, so that's just the way it goes.
That's the way it goes, man.
I mean, that's why I like all the new materials are very interesting because of that. The idea of giving more flow in the shoe and breathability and things like that.
As long as it's antimicrobial, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You got to kill the microbes.
Duh.
That's where the smell comes in, right?
Exactly.
Man, I remember the days when I was like 12 and I'd take off my shoes and clear out the room instantly.
Well, you can get that powder now, you know?
Yeah.
Shoe powder.
Maybe I grew out of it. It's an adolescent thing.
Well, maybe you just throw your shoes somewhere you can't smell them anymore, you know?
Well, I'll tell you this. One guy who doesn't have smelly shoes, he's probably got a lot of brand new ones.
It's because they're always fresh.
Yeah, they're always fresh. It's Chris Burns from the Arch Network, Arch USA. Chris, you are like an omni-channel entrepreneur extraordinaire. You got like 15 different websites. You're always moving. You're always shaking. In fact, the only way we can get you on to talk about some of these topics is like you're doing your thing. And so to our listeners, if you hear Chris like, you know, talking to McDonald's, ordering a number 2 supersize while he's also going to a different phone to take another call while he's also picking up boxes or he's dropping some money for some kicks, bear with us because we wanted Chris on here no matter what, and so this is what we got. So Chris, welcome back to Shoe and Show, man. How are you?
I am very good, man. Glad to be back, and I really love the work that you guys are doing with the FDRA and Shoe In. It's just really important work. I'm just a nobody, and I'm glad you guys think I'm important enough.
Oh, my gosh. No, you're not. If you're a nobody, we're all nobodies, so we'll all be nobodies together. But somebody who's a somebody is Jay-Z, who signed up with Puma. And so Andy and I were talking about, you know what, who obviously would have a perspective on this. It's Chris Burns. So that's one of the reasons we want to have you come on. But we also want to just kind of catch up, have a potpourri of topics that we can discuss. But why don't we just start with that, the Puma Jay-Z deal. Talk to us about your feelings about it.
Let's title it. This is In My Lifetime, Volume 1, Streets is Watching.
Okay.
Wall Streets is watching this. What does this mean?
What does it mean, Chris? Lay it on us. What are your thoughts on it?
My thoughts on it. My phone's going to switch over, so hopefully you'll be able to hear me. I may drop out for it. So let me make sure I'm in. Can you guys hear me?
You're there, man. Loud and clear.
All right. When it first popped up, I immediately wrote several articles on the site. So you go to the site and you click on the Insider Ties section, and I started writing articles because for me, when people decide to align themselves with athletes and entertainers, it's I've come to the point now where I think it's a bit short-sighted. And I immediately went to Puma's platforms, right? So everybody else was like, oh, man, they launched a Twitter and they signed this guy, they signed this guy, they signed this guy. I went straight to the website. And I looked at the website, and you know what was on the homepage of the Puma website? Do you guys know what was there?
Like a Jenner or a Kardashian or...
A Jenner or like a Gomez, the Fenty slide. Puma's growth in the last 2 years has been based on women.
Yeah.
They've done nothing in the men's section. They had Big Sean shoes come out their own sale at every location that I go to where they are available. They had the Weekend's parallel boots come out. They didn't release anywhere in the South hardly. They were only kind of in key cities, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But they haven't been able to crack the men's market. So when I saw them launch this basketball division, in my head, I was like, I don't know if that's a smart move, but Puma needed access into men's footwear.
Yeah.
And that's really the bottom line. They needed access into men's footwear. The best way to do that is with athletes and, of course, with an entertainer. And they did that. So they have an access point. But if you ask me if it's going to be successful, I wrote 4 articles, and they're long articles about what I think they're doing wrong.
Right.
And the first thing is you have sales channels. You have to funnel your people through sales channels. Everybody knows this in any business, especially in e-commerce.
Yeah.
They have absolutely nothing on their websites about Puma basketball. They simply have a Twitter channel, and I think they have a Facebook now, and maybe an IG. There are no products. There's nothing you can buy. You can't buy the T-shirts. They did a pop-up shop.
Mm-hmm.
If you ask me, it was the clear case of somebody having an excess of money because of a successful year who just decided to do something without any real plan.
Right.
So, I mean, I want to get into the Jay-Z thing, but in all honesty, man, I think he brings very little to the table. All I have to do is say S. Carter.
Yeah. No, that's a great point. Now, what are your expectations for his actual involvement? Do you think he'll be more like an executive, in a movie you'll see Steven Spielberg, executive producer or whatever, and everyone's like, ooh, but he maybe showed up for a cup of coffee. Do you expect that he'll be really involved, or it's just a name thing? What's your expectation there?
My expectations, I don't really have any, man. I don't think he is going to be able to do anything at all. Now, as far as his interaction and involvement, he'll be a really good figurehead. If he doesn't hire a team similar to an Adidas Kitchen or a Nike Lab, or if he doesn't hire a team that's made up of industry vets.
Yeah.
There's a guy at Columbia, used to be at Columbia. His name is Marcus. His last name slips my mind.
Uh-huh.
That dude is so talented. It's not funny. He's like an industry veteran.
Right.
And I can't think of his name. You know what? I'm driving, so I can't pull anything up. If Puma came back and said, hey, we're hiring this guy to work with Jay-Z, then I would be nervous for Nike and everybody else.
Right.
In other words, if Jay-Z, which when we look at, all right, let's think about Rock Nation, right? As a sports agency, they're doing incredible stuff. But if we think about Rock Nation or Rockefeller Records, the label, I don't know where Beans is. I don't know where Freeway is, even though Freeway did just drop an album.
Right.
Where are all the people around Jay-Z who should have been kind of lifting with him? I don't see him. So is he good at building a team? I have no idea. He's got Beyonce, so yeah, he can build a team.
Yeah, it's Beyonce's husband, basically, right? So he's
Beyonce's husband. But is he the guy that's building a team? I don't see that.
So we got the splash.
Maybe I'm wrong.
We got the splash. They did a good job of getting the splash, but now it's down to the product, right? And what you're saying is you haven't seen a Puma basketball shoe or a Puma, shoe around that nature. We've not seen one yet. They didn't have a launch ready. So we can't anticipate.
Well, no, they actually did. They did. They presented it. So the Clyde, this rough, they did present the shoe the day after.
And what do you think? What do you think about the product?
It looks like the Clyde. It looks like the Clyde. So the heritage is there.
Right.
It's not a bad looking product. If it's $100 to $110 and it's fighting the Paul George, the PG 1-2 and the 2.5, if it's fighting in that area of 100 to 110, I think it has a ton of potential. But the brand, the shoes that they have, when I wrote the article, I said that they should have went in and redesigned the Puma Sugi Corey. And I don't know if you guys have ever even heard of that shoe.
No.
Jasmine probably has.
See, most people haven't. It was in my top 40 shoes last year, man. It's one of the most incredible shoes I've seen in the last year and a half, design-wise.
Actually, I do know that. Was a Japanese design collaboration?
Yeah,
I know that shoe.
The
yeah.
Puma Sugi Corey. They made a black one. It was all leather and knit, and it had a high sock on it.
Yeah.
And I said, if they redesign that shoe and they use Evo knit and Ignite, they come in with a product that's technical and it looks incredible. The shoe that they delivered us, yeah. I mean, you know, and I want companies to be competitive. I'll write an article about Under Armour or Puma, unlike everybody else in the sneaker blogging industry.
Right.
I do a lot more analysis of what's going on. And, man, I was really excited for it when I heard it. And then when I went to the site and I didn't see it on the website, I didn't see it on the Puma News site, I didn't see anything anywhere. They only had a Twitter. And I was like, they're doing this wrong already. How can you sit here and not have a sign-up page on your website for product?
Yeah, you got to capture the interest right away.
Right away. They didn't do anything like that. So I was just kind of, you know, like I said, I wrote those articles, man, and I was like, they didn't do this the right way, man. There should have been a team. Oh, that dude's name is Marcus Smith.
Yeah.
Marcus Smith.
Yep.
Marcus Smith is the beast. So, like, if Puma sat in a room and they said, Jay-Z, here's Jay-Z's general manager, here's his head coach, here's his assistant coach, here's his videographer, and they gave him a team of 5 people, and he pulled that team together of people like a Marcus Smith, Dwayne Edwards to come in as an outside consultant.
Yep.
If he did that, and there's a guy named Edward Borelli, if he brought these people in who were all on the inside of the beginnings of like Jordan Brand and Nike and all of this stuff, you're talking about a team of people who are freelance, who are basically free agents, who could walk in the door and give Puma a foundation. Now, I don't know who they have as the foundation. We don't know. There's no information and there's no website.
Right.
There's nothing. But I can stay and talk about that all day, man. You guys didn't get me on something else.
I wound you up, man.
Because, you know, I launched a basketball shoe company before. I had Show Shop back in 2004.
Yeah.
I had 9 colleges wearing my uniforms. I had 9 colleges in my uniforms. I had 1,200 shoes sold. I had kids getting Show Shop tattoos, and nobody had ever heard of Show Shop before, and I did all that by myself, right? I know what it takes, and it takes a grassroots effort with really good design and people that are foot soldiers.
Yeah.
Shift and change does not come because you signed a superstar or an entertainer who couldn't even keep S. Carter afloat with Reebok.
You got any vintage size 12 sitting around? You could spare us, so we'd rock your brand again.
Oh man, that's been long gone. Show Shot turned into Marquee, which turned into Cross Kick when I just basically got bought out, man, and they crushed my little soul. I had a license, but they become like the sports Crocs now. That whole thing, I don't have anything to do with it. It's gone, you know. But as far as, you know, what Puma's doing, man, there's nothing about the product. They didn't lead with product, man. You always lead with product because the product is there long after the people are gone.
Let me walk. Let's go down a different line. Let's take this kind of beyond Puma, because one of the things I know that Matt Powell talks about, and you sometimes agree with Matt, sometimes you don't, and that's the beauty of our industry. There's a lot of great, strong voices with good, strong points of view. But Matt is not a big celebrity moves the needle guy either. Is there ever a situation where celebrity does move the needle in substantive ways, or are we all just kind of nipping at the margins here, whether it's Jay-Z or whether it's some other whether it's Kanye, whomever it might be? Are we all just kind of nipping at the margins within the industry with these celebrities?
No, you're not nipping at the margins. They are needed. But the product is always more important.
Yeah.
However, when you have a person like a Kanye, and me and Matt Powell don't agree at all. I don't even follow him on Twitter. I used to because I thought he was really smart. And then I realized he just had data that was old. And I was like, dude, if I sat in the room, I think last year, this is a good way to put it. I think last year Matt Powell went to Adidas and did a big speech or something at Adidas. Adidas is falling off a cliff.
Right.
If he was the one that talked to them last year and they fall off a cliff this year, why would Adidas bring that dude in? But that's just me kind of attacking the fact that point of sale data is misleading. And I've been making a really strong push to explain that resale actually offers more value to a brand about brand heat. And a lot of people will probably say, oh, you don't know what you're talking about, because they think resale is a niche area. people don't understand that places like Chewbacca, even Zappos, those are what I call resellers as well. Not just some kid waking up in the morning, picking up a pair of Yeezys, going to flip them. The market is much bigger than people think. Now, that's just me talking about that part of it.
Yeah.
With the entertainers, when you're talking entertainers and athletes are extremely important because they give the brand a certain amount of credibility that brand cannot attain on its own unless they put the work in and build the foundation. So you automatically have a certain amount of credibility when you bring in a DeAndre or a Zaire or Bagley. Puma automatically gets a certain amount of credibility and people will try their product because of the athletes. You have to have the athletes. Certain endorsers, however, certain entertainers, I don't think move the needle at all. So when we look at a Puma and 4 years ago when they had Meek Mill, so what? It did nothing for the brand.
Yeah.
Nothing at all. They had Young Thug. Puma had Young Thug, and then Adidas took Young Thug, which is weird. But that's a problem. You look at Reebok and Kendrick Lamar. It was an inauthentic connection.
Right.
Kendrick Lamar's from L.A. L.A. is the Nike Cortez.
Yeah.
So when Kendrick Lamar goes over to Nike with the Cortez starts selling automatically. It starts selling. Now it's always selling. But it blew up now. Why? Because L.A. is the Nike Cortez and Kendrick Lamar is L.A. So there's a natural synergy there.
Yeah.
When you have a natural kind of chemistry and the athlete and the entertainer, it simply works.
Right.
So there's no lie. Just like Matt Powell doesn't think Kanye had anything to do with it, I think he's dead wrong. Kanye had a lot to do with it. And I think Kanye is more important in the scope of what Adidas did than anybody's willing to recognize.
Right.
But I also call on the fact that Adidas, from 2016 to 2017, and I have like verifiable evidence in my statistics and my sales. See, I'm not just talking about point of sales data. I actually sell sneakers.
Right.
So I sell this stuff. I can pull up a video where you can look into my records and see exactly when Adidas started selling in the resale market. And soon after they became a hot brand. What you have with a person, like a Kanye or somebody like that, they're influential. But Adidas also did a great job of marketing, man. They won awards for their marketing campaigns during 2017 and 2016. And people don't think about that. During the election, I think I talked about this once before. During the election, right?
Yeah.
When in 2016, the debate between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump ends, right?
Yeah.
Adidas plays a national spot right at the end of the debate, and it's the future. Your future is not mine. And man, that was, I don't care what anybody says, Adidas was hitting on all cylinders. They were killing it when you talk about marketing. So they had an effective run of marketing and product. But Adidas killed themselves with price increases and an overabundance of supply into the market of the NMD and every little shoe that was helping them to grow. Now, that's more technical stuff, and let's get into some other stuff because, like I said, man, you get me started.
Well, let me jump in here and let me start a new thread, I guess. And
wait, can I close out this thread real quick? And Chris, you don't even have to respond, but I think what you're saying is that the resale market, and the last 3 pairs of shoes I bought have all been on the resale market, just to give you a heads up. And I never bought shoes on resale up until the last year or so. But the resale market is more of a leading indicator than it is kind of the caboose that doesn't matter. And so I think your view is that if it's blowing up on resale, there's more of the story than just the normal porn. It's the typical channels. And in my mind, if we're in an omni-channel world and the ways in which you buy shoes is so much more diversified than it's ever been, then just relying on point of sale is not the way. You're missing out on so much more information and data and movement within the marketplace if you limit yourself just to that channel. And even if it's limited just to brick and mortar and just to e-com.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. But when I say resale, I am not talking, and I know we want to move on from this one. I'm not talking the kid standing in the line flipping a pair of Yeezys.
Right.
I'm talking general release shoes. People have a tendency to think resale is only hyped up and hot sneakers, that's a small market. But when you go to Amazon and the third-party marketplace and into Kixify's marketplace, into StockX's marketplace, into eBay's marketplace, into GOAT's marketplace, we can keep going to all of these companies who are getting multi-million-dollar investments from venture capital firms. It's not just the hot shoe that's selling. People are selling shoes that are regular, everyday shoes. There's more to resale than people, and I have the information for it. Anybody wants to talk to me, man, they can just call me and talk, because it's an extensive conversation. And I don't want people to think I'm saying resale in terms of a hype Levi's Jordan 4 release.
Right.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about somebody's reselling a D-Rupt in the third-party marketplace right now. Somebody's reselling a Nike Free in the third-party marketplace right now. And no one's paying attention to those numbers. Yeah. So resale is taking place in more places than anyone understands. And I think simply looking at the point of sales data is an indicator of what happened in the past. But I can tell you the exact moment that Adidas got hot from my resale of the Adidas ZX Flux in 2015.
Yeah, so there's a lot of data points we need to look at to understand what's happening
in
the total marketplace.
There's like qualitative stuff.
Right.
Yeah, there's qualitative stuff that people think you can't measure that's actually measurable.
Right.
It's there if you find the people who sell shoes.
Right.
It would be different if I had access to POS data. I'd be more important than probably most people who are getting these consulting gigs. I don't have access to POS data. I simply have access to my sales records.
Right.
And as a one-man sales team, if I'm doing $500,000 a year to $700,000 a year as a one-man sales team, what am I selling?
Right.
I'm obviously not getting all of the hot releases. What am I selling? I'm selling everyday shoes.
We also tell this to our members, and we also release data. We crunch government data on total marketplace by brick and mortar and then total U.S. sales, and we analyze this and put it out. And we always tell people this is the best data you can get from the government side. Everybody else has as much, I think, as many data points as you can have, as long as you can analyze them with wisdom, right? As long as you have a mind's eye for what it is. More data is always good, that you can analyze different segments and different channels and things like that. So there's no one all be all source of information, but people need to realize there are a multitude of marketplaces, and they need to consider all these different market, especially with sneakers, as you're saying. One, I want to change this kind of topic to kind of, you were talking about, with the resale market, you can see kind of in real time what's happening. So let's talk a little bit about what's happening in real time with the sneaker marketplace. It's summertime. I'll call this segment, because I previously named it a different rap song, so I'll name this this segment LL Cool J. Mama said knock you out. Don't call it a comeback. Nike is back. Everybody had RIP. No, I'm not singing, Blake. Everybody had RIP on the tombstone. Don't call it a comeback. I've been here for years. Rocking the mic, putting suckers in fear, making a chance. Soon, listen to the explosion. Anyway,
overpowering.
So everybody had everybody says, Adidas is eating their lunch. Nike starts making changes internally, and then all of a sudden we see recently Nike is killing it again. What is happening? What is happening with Nike? Why are they killing it? What's happening in the broader retail marketplace as we look through summer?
Now, of course, the easiest thing for me to do is always to look at the data because Matt Powell controls so much of the dialogue and data. He's the one that's pointed to.
Right. It's
easy to go directly to his data to see the problem. Last year, when he announced that Adidas jumped over the Jumpman, and the entire sneaker market jumped on that, I was the only person to write the article. You better look at that a little bit closer, because there's no way possible that Matt Powell could have the numbers on Nike's customer direct sales.
Right.
He doesn't have the number to those doors. He didn't announce anything about Nike opening up 70 new stores. He didn't talk about the fact that Nike literally crushed their mom and pop accounts. I mean, wipe them
Yeah,
out.
and by the way, I got to give you props, man, because the last time we had you on, you highlighted that the crushing of the mom and pop accounts and what has happened since crushing of the mom and pop accounts, man. You nailed that one.
I mean, I'm like, I actually wrote a post and I did a video, episode 113, and I said why Nike's return to growth didn't surprise me a bit. If anybody had been reading the website from 2015 to 2016 to 2017, they would have seen the series of articles, and they would have noted that I said that Nike stock was never going to hit the mid 40s, and I said that by the end of 2018, Nike stock would be in the high 70s. Now, this is all a year and a half ago before everybody was just still all over Adidas, and I was like,
Yeah.
Adidas has some hidden flaws nobody's paying attention to. Nike's return to growth was not a surprise. Anybody who sits and understands the idea, the process of wholesale, realizes that selling a product yourself gets you more money.
Right.
You know, I mean, why put a dude on the street? If you're Jay-Z, why go back to the block and have somebody hustle something for you when you can just hustle it yourself?
Running those Timberlands, brother.
Hey, we're doing hey, look at Vans and Timberland and VF Corporation. You talk about growth.
Yeah. The margins in direct to consumer are so much better.
I think this is a good important point here. I think Chris is right. I think Nike has invested in doing the direct to consumer platform, and they are poised to, as more and more people assimilate and get used to getting online and buying shoes online, they are going to dominate. And I think the fear should be for brick and mortar retailers and other retailers that are partnering now with Nike is this. The product channel that they're going to be doing eventually will be less product, less colorways in stores. And if you want to get something special or something different, it's going to be on Nike.com. And they're going to basically say, okay, to, a national chain, they're going to say, okay, we're going to give you these 5 product and that's what you're going to get for the summer. And that's it. And anything special, and you're going to get red and blue and white, and anything else that's green or anything else that's unique, it's all going to be on our website. And you're going to take it and like it. It's almost in some ways like the Walmart effect, with their partners is we're going to pay this price and you're going to provide it to us because we're buying in bulk and this is what's going to keep you afloat. And we're the giant and we can do this. And that'll be amazing for them, but it's going to fundamentally change all those independent retailers and everybody else. Right, Chris?
Yeah. I mean, you just nailed it. Everything that you just said is what I said over and over again. And more importantly, I said if I ever had the chance to sit down with a Foot Locker and Foot Locker actually is good. Now, if you want to look at a retail outlet that gets it, Foot Locker aligns itself with brands and they shift and move their merchandising in store, right? If you walk into a Foot Locker right now, you're going to see Vans at the front of the store. Last year when you walked in Foot Locker, you saw Adidas at the front of the store.
Right.
Foot Locker has also done a very good job of doing something that Amazon is doing. Foot Locker has been introducing private label. Bespoke is the name of the new one for Foot Action.
What's it
and
called?
These are things, like I said, once again, Bespoke, which is I thought was a terrible name. But because, I know when you hear Bespoke, you're thinking like, oh man, some old Italian dude is in here crafting these shoes. But they have a brand called Bespoke, but it's their own private label. And they've been making private label items for a while now, which is basically kind of supporting the lack of sales that they may see in, with Nike product or Adidas product in apparel. But Foot Locker gets it. They're capable of shifting their wall because they have so many stores. They can work around the fact that Nike's really growing their own footprint. And Nike's not just growing their footprint with digital. We know Nike.com and everything else, but you remember during Investors Day, people didn't pay attention to the fact that Nike was going to take the Nike.com philosophy and they were going to implement it into brick and mortar. So what they are doing now, last week, they opened up a gym. Now, did you guys know that?
No, where at?
See what I'm saying? In L.A. Now, did they know LeBron was going there? And they have stars who are dropping into this gym. Now, it's just a quote-unquote pop-up gym. But you're talking about a growth opportunity for Nike in gyms where they're going to have their own apparel and products in the gym that you can test in the gym.
That's
They
cool.
said they were doing that. They said they were going to do it during Investors Day. Nobody paid attention.
Yeah.
That sounds like
They
Trump.
said they were
Trump
going
said
to
he was going to
open
do it, and he did it. Scarily.
You get what I'm saying?
Yep.
Yeah.
Nike. I wrote 2 years ago. I said, in order for brick and mortar to compete, they're going to have to get smaller,
Yep.
more agile. They're going to have to act like
a boutique
Kith.
almost.
They're going to have to act like Kith, like a boutique. They're going to have to act like Kith, Bodega.
Yep.
And what you see out of Kith and Bodega are curated stores. And what did Nike do last week? They opened a curated store last week. They opened a gym and a curated store in the same city.
It's
I
fascinating.
mean, they're looking at the data of what people are ordering in these cities. And this is what frustrates me about Puma. And I know we're going backwards here.
Do it.
With the Puma rollout, Puma did nothing to move you towards any of their digital platforms with the basketball product.
Right.
There should be a sign-up list. They did nothing on their own platform, and that was such a frustrating thing to watch. And that's why I brought up Marcus Smith, because I asked him, and I sent out these emails to people, and I asked him, I was like, what do you think about that? And Marcus was like, I would have had a splash page.
Yeah.
I would have had the website would have been laid out as soon as that Twitter page went live. When you click to go to pumabasketball.com, you would have had a sign up and you could pre-order that shoe.
Yeah.
And he said they had none of it. And I was like, hey, you're right. And that's when I sat down and I really looked closely at what they had done. And I was like, they just created the biggest buzz with just a Twitter following. And there's nowhere for me to actually physically purchase any of this product other than a pop-up shop in New York.
Yeah.
And therein lies the problem with everybody looking at Nike,
Yeah.
everybody looking at the market, and everybody looking at retail. Retail has a beautiful opportunity. Retail's not going to die. If you consistently do more curated selections, the buyers for these big chains and these stores, these buyers, there's a guy that runs the Sneaker Box podcast, and he used to write for Sneaker Box Bar Detroit.
Uh-huh.
Gosh, what's his name? If I'm a company like a Foot Locker, or if I'm a company like a DTLR, and he actually is on the DTLR radio,
Okay.
I hire that guy and I bring him in as a person to train my buyers.
Yeah.
Because he not only works inside of the sneaker podcast industry, he also understands the sneaker resale industry. He also understands the general release industry. The person that you hire as your buyer now is going to have to be the most informed person that any buyer has ever been.
Yeah.
Ever. Because in order to account or adapt and adjust to Nike, you're going to have your stuff together. And I wanted to curse there, but I won't. You're going to have your stuff together. Because Nike has so much capital. And I wrote this yesterday in an article because I was pissed at Nike. Superheroic, Jason Maiden, he launched a brand for kids. And he did all of this research, and he made these beautiful shoes for kids. And he's got this platform where he's growing and developing this business. You guys heard of Superheroic?
I've read about him.
It's a footwear company, and it's made and designed around kids, and the fact that kids' feet are shifting and growing constantly every day. A kid could be flat foot one day, and all of a sudden their foot moves, and now they have an arch.
Yeah.
It's crazy what happens with kids' feet. So he did all of this research and design, and then yesterday Nike announces that they're doing this Future Series for kids, and I'm like, man, what a bunch of a-holes, man.
Right.
Why get into it? You know that this guy is working here, but Nike has so much disposable income, they can mess up and screw up an area and lose money on it, developing it, and literally wipe out what you're doing.
Right.
Because they got so much capital.
Yeah, they got all
Puma
that cash.
doesn't have that kind of capital. They don't. They got so much cash. And it's scary. So if you're going to come up with an idea Nike can literally jump in there, look at what you're doing, come back, R&D it, and have it out before you even thought about doing it.
Right.
So
right.
what's going to distinguish you from a product that Nike makes that's basically your product with their stuff? What distinguishes you is a curated, more personalized experience.
Right.
And
right.
these small stores, if you're small enough, man, you got to really start caring. You got to start having events in your space. You got to start hosting artists in your space. You got to start doing. There's so much you can do to offset Nike. As big of a behemoth as they are, they've shown the cracks when they were laying out the consumer direct. They showed the cracks. They left everything open. And Adidas showed how you could get into the back door. And then Adidas switched lanes and started talking about some damn creators. And I'm like, wait a minute, what happened to the future is not mine? What about the kids movement? What about you guys attacking being subversive and making these super weird commercials and videos that were amazing?
Yeah.
They just changed lanes, started going athletic. And I'm like, you guys are not that right now. And it's so frustrating because we need Adidas strong. We need Under Armour strong, and Under Armour is getting better. And I like Under Armour.
Yeah.
You need Superheroic to come in and take care of the kids. You need the Greats brand to come in and make casual cool for 20, 30-somethings who like dressing neat and clean. You need all of these different brands need to be healthy. But it seems like they hire people based on somebody they know, and, you get these crappy results out of it.
Yeah. No, I know. I hear you. Well, let me let's close the loop on that, and before we head to fashion, footwear, and focus, before we bring Jasmine in, just give me a minute on what do you think? What are the hot trends now in footwear? Just generally, is it I don't know. Is it technology? Is it comfort? What are the things that you're seeing out there, and what are the brands that have really good? Let's just focus a little bit more on product right now, and less on the business and process side. What are you seeing on the product side that gets you excited?
Unfortunately, this goes right back to Nike, man. The Air Max 270 might be the hottest shoe of the year.
I love that. I got a pair, man. They are so comfortable.
They're comfortable, but you're talking about tech informing casual.
Yeah.
And a lot of people will say performance is dead. Performance isn't dead. It's just shifted.
Right.
What people call performance now has always been performance, but it's shifted. So what I think is happening is performance as casual, but it's not named performance. So the Air Max 270 is one of the top selling shoes. It is not a performance shoe.
Right.
But guess what people are wearing and running in, even though they shouldn't be? Air Max 270.
Dude, I kid you not. 2 weeks ago, I was in China, and I have to limit how many pairs of shoes I bring with me. And so I was wearing the 270s as I flew over there, and I ran twice in my 270s. It was the only athletic shoes I had. And they worked. It worked.
They worked.
Yeah.
They worked. And because the technology is so good now, the things that we think are old and not performance anymore, Huaraches, still perform well. I still see people at the gym in Huaraches.
Yeah, totally. Well, and Andy makes this point on performance being dead, is that and it's one you just made, but performance, we wouldn't have comfort and casual in our brunch sneakers if it wasn't for the R&D that went to the performance side from the athletic brands. It's trickled down, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It is. It is trickled down, man. And the things that are performance now will be casual in 5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
So if you are not developing performance shoes, in 5 to 10 years, you're not going to be with the market.
Right.
So to tell someone that performance is dead and you shouldn't be wasting time on it is to tell them not to be prepared for the 5 to 10 years down the road.
Yeah.
The Stan Smith was a performance shoe.
Yeah. The Cortez was a performance shoe, right? At one point.
It was a performance shoe.
Yep.
Yeah. You took an old Jeff Johnson slapping a foam midsole in the middle of a Tiger and coming up with the Cortez.
Yeah.
It was a performance shoe.
I know.
All of these different things, man, it's performance as casual, but it's just not known as. It's like the idea when you go to the Skechers website, right?
Yeah.
And nobody considers Skechers as performance, but I promise you, if you go and walk at the park, you're going to see older people walking in Skechers.
Yep, totally.
It's
All
a
right.
performance shoe. It's just a casual label.
All right. Well, with that, we're going to bring in Jasmine for her world famous fashion, footwear, and focus segment. Jasmine, We've got Chris Burns, who's fashionable. We got you, who's really fashionable. Then you have me and Andy. And then so let's come together and see what the latest and greatest is on the fashion side, and we'll give our take.
One thing that I have noticed recently is like the mismatched sneakers. That's something that I've seen growing up, but it has kind of died down, like 2 different colorways, but one shoe, essentially. And I've been seeing it not just in sneakers, because that's where I first noticed it at, especially like Jordan releases. But now I'm starting to see it even with high-end shoes too. Like Celine has a pair of heels that are like an all-white boot, and then it's an all-red boot. Sam Edelman has a pair that are 2 different colorways, 2 different brooches on them. I seen a pair of Nike ones that they're called I think they're called the Rebels, and they're, red on one shoe and blue on the other shoe. So that's a popular mismatch colorway as well. But it's something that I'm not really sure how I feel about it. I don't know if I'm really...
a symmetrical dude, man.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't know if I want that. So it's an interesting trend, but it's happening everywhere, and it's happening like across every style, every budget. So that's something that I've seen that's been really interesting.
Chris, you got any mismatched shoes in your closet?
I plead the fifth. I'm too old to have it, but do I? I can't tell you. I have to go and look.
Yeah, we'll check back in with
a
you.
young trend. Yeah.
She just called you old.
No, not even for me. No, I mean teenagers.
I look silly where I told somebody the other day exactly what she's talking about, because Nike did the homage to home, right?
Yeah.
And the homage, the Jordan 1 that was swooped down the middle, it was Chicago and then the bread.
Yep.
Right? And this dude was wearing it. And I was like, yo, those are fresh. And he was like, yeah, did you get a pair? I said, no. I said, I'm too damn old. There's certain stuff you just don't wear. I'm wearing a pair of ones right now, but they're premium low sock ones that look good with low socks, with gold aglets.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's right, because the Russell Westbrook that came out this weekend is split. It's blue and red.
Man.
So the Rebel Top 3 that came out that she's talking about, came out 2 weeks ago. She's dead right, man. It's like this Puma did those RSOs, and one shoe was one color and the other shoe was like funky. And there's like a lot of that going. There's the Crayola Jordan 1 that came out. So you got some really dope stuff. She's right. She's dead right. That trend is crazy, like that shoe trend.
I'm waiting on the Hypercolor sneaker to come out, right? Remember the Hypercolor? Uh-huh. Changes with my mood. That way everybody knows.
Change with your sweaty feet.
No. It'd always be red. It'd never be blue.
Never. It'd be like they'll just name it the Michael Jackson Funk of 40,000 years.
Oh man, Chris, man, you're awesome. We appreciate you as an important person within the industry who has a point of view, that does a lot of research, writes really thought-provoking pieces. Tell folks where they can hit you up on your website, just so everyone knows.
All right, the website is arch-usa.com. The YouTube is archbyccb. And the Twitter handle is archbyccb. And you can write me and ask me questions or tell me to write about something, and I'll research it, man. I enjoy it, and I love getting questions. And I look to FDRA for my really important business facts on like the tariffs and all of the important stuff that people really should be paying attention to. So I appreciate you guys more. And that's what's valuable what you're doing as well.
Thanks, man. We appreciate you.
It's a circle of love.
That's right.
All right.
Killing me today. He's killing me, man.
Well, should I just bring out Queen Latifah to end it up then? The last segment. UNITY. UNITY spells unity.
You've been watching too much Luke Cage, man. Everything's a song. That's Luke Cage, man.
I'm sleep deprived. We just had a child about a month ago, and so I've been, getting little sleep, and that reflects in my mindset. So there you go. So, folks,
it's
Chris.
well worth it.
Yeah, exactly.
Back.
Thank you, Chris. As always, thank you very much, folks. Thanks for listening. This is Shoe and Show. We're covering the ins and outs of the footwear industry. This was specifically targeted on the sneaker marketplace and what's happening, drilling down in different facets that people don't actually think about sometimes, and then covering all those bases. You can find us at Shoe and Show. We're on the internets. You can go on the tubes and check us out. We're shoeandshow.com. If you have topics or guests you'd like us to interview or talk about, just hit us up on our website. And for Jasmine, Matt, and myself, Shoein is out.
Shoein has been brought to you by the FDRA, the Footwear Industries Association focused on retail, trade, politics, and fashion, helping create and enhance conversations on all things footwear. For information about FDRA, visit fdra.org.